Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Myers. I'm a New York Times bestselling author and founder and medical director of Austin Ultra Health. Today I'm going to be tackling a bit of a controversial question, which is, are fermented foods actually good for you? You can hardly walk through the grocery store today without seeing kombucha, sauerkraut, kefir on the shelves with huge signs saying how great they are for your digestive health, immune health, bowel regularity, and more. Plus, practically every functional medicine and natural health expert out there today is saying they are a must-have for gut health and microbiome health. So you'd think this would be a pretty straightforward question, right? However, that's not really the case. The question of how and when to eat fermented foods is actually a hot button issue, and my stance is different than most functional medicine practitioners and other natural health experts. So let's dig in to why it matters and the risks and benefits of eating fermented foods. So let's first start by talking about why is everybody talking about fermented foods anyway? Well, scientists have recently discovered the importance of our gut microbiome. In fact, we now know that there are more bacteria in us and on us than there are of our very own cells. The gut microbiome in particular has tens of trillions of microorganisms, and those microorganisms support a thriving immune system because nearly 60 to 80% of our immune system is housed in our gut. In addition, that microbiome is helping to produce nearly 95% of the serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone that's made in your gut. In addition, this microbiome helps us maintain and keep a healthy weight range. I like to think of the gut as a rainforest with lots of different plants in there. They're good bacteria, bad bacteria, we have yeast, and some people may even have parasites. It's kind of a survival of the fittest balance thing. If something gets disrupted, then other things can overgrow. So we want everything to be in there in a perfect harmony and balance. And when something gets out of balance, such as bad bacteria or yeast, and they begin to grow, this can affect our immune system, our mood, our weight, and our overall health. So how do fermented foods actually affect our microbiome? Fermented foods are made from the process of lactofermentation. That's where bacteria and yeast and other organisms break down the food into sugar and to starch. They convert it into lactic acid, which acts as a natural preservative. This then creates a prebiotic that feeds virtually everything. I like to think of it like fish in a fish tank. When you put in some fish food, it doesn't only feed the good fish in there. If there are bad fish in there, they eat it too. So the same thing happens with prebiotics and fermented foods. They are food for our good bacteria, or that's what everybody says. But it can also be food for bad bacteria or yeast if they're out of balance and living in your gut. Fermented foods can also be high in probiotics themselves, and they can contain yeast and even bad bacteria. Kombucha, for example, is made from a SCOBY, a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. Prebiotics are still present in the fermented foods as well. So this can be bad, as I've already mentioned, if you have SIBO, if you have yeast overgrowth or any bad bacteria, they can be feeding off of these prebiotics as well. Particularly if you have SIBO. The lacto part of the lactofermentation comes from lactobacillus. Fermentation causes even more lactobacillus to multiply. And as I've said before with SIBO, lactobacillus can actually be adding fuel to your fire, and then the prebiotics feed it even further. That's why if you're eating fermented foods and you have SIBO, you might see an exacerbation in your symptoms. So, are fermented foods actually good for you? Well, the answer is yes and no. Yes, they can be really great for you if you have a gut and a microbiome that's in a healthy, optimal balance, and you're simply adding in the fermented foods with the prebiotics to help flourish and help populate the good bacteria. However, if you're somebody who's dealing with a gut infection, such as candida overgrowth or SIBO, or any type of imbalance in your gut, then fermented foods and those prebiotics may actually cause more harm than good. So my way of dealing with that is to be sure to get rid of those infections of candida or SIBO first, and then once you've healed your gut, add in healthy fermented foods. If you need any tips on how to heal your gut or to get rid of these infections, I have lots of information in my books, The Autoimmune Solution, The Thyroid Connection, or on my website at Amy Myers, MD. So how can you increase good bacteria without actually eating fermented foods? It's as simple as taking a high-quality probiotic. Make sure that the strains that are included in your probiotic have been proven to show that they're beneficial. In addition, you'll want to make sure that your probiotic is guaranteed for quality and potency at the time of expiration, not just the time of manufacture. I recommend that anyone dealing with candida overgrowth, parasites, or leaky gut take a 100 billion unit colony-forming unit probiotic. If you're dealing with SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I recommend choosing a soil-based probiotic without lactobacillus, such as my Primal Earth probiotic. And if you're somebody who's just trying to maintain a healthy and optimal gut and microbiome, then I recommend a 30 billion unit CFUs for a maintenance dose. And as always, whether you should eat fermented foods or not, ultimately is a personal decision. And that's the power of functional medicine. We're all unique, and what works best for one is not always what works best for another. And it won't always be the same depending on the state of your gut. As I always say, you know your body best, so do a bit of experimenting. As long as you aren't dealing with any active gut infections like SIBO or candida, try fermented foods in your diet. Pay close attention to how your body responds. See if they work well for you. And if you notice that any of your symptoms are flaring, then fermented foods are likely not the best choice for you. And if you notice no change, or you notice positive changes, then feel free to keep them in your diet, as long as they're working for you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're ready to learn more about gut health, make sure you're on my newsletter list, where you can get free videos, articles, and recipes delivered straight to your inbox. Just head on over to gutrecipes.com and you can sign up. In addition, you'll get 35 amazingly delicious recipes to help you repair a leaky gut.